Good morning. So, in this letter to the Hebrews we heard today, first we've been hearing for the last weeks or 2 weeks, the letters from the Hebrews, and we're talking about the high priest. And of course, the high priest is Christ. Now, the writer to the Hebrews was trying to explain to them how this all works. Before Christ, the priestly class were the only people that could really talk to God, and everybody else used them as a mediator. What they're saying here is that Jesus is our mediator to himself because he's part of the Godhead. But with this mediator opening up, have you ever noticed whenever you are baptized that you are baptized as a priest, a prophet, and a king? What does that mean? That means that each one of us can open our hearts and talk to Christ on an individual basis. And for the rest of this letter of the Hebrews, he ends up quoting Jeremiah in one of my favorite passages from Jeremiah. And different things that he says here is that this new covenant is going to come with Christ, and that all of God's laws are written in each one of our minds and our hearts. I don't know about you, but with me, a lot of times I have a hard time distancing what I think is right and what I do in my heart, or what my heart tells me is right and my mind tells me it's wrong. And I think we see this a lot of times, examples of this in the Old Testament. When Moses or God calls the Jewish people stiff-necked people, that distance between their mind and their heart is so distant. But he's breaking that down because he's putting all the laws, all the ways that we can go to him in our hearts. And with that, it opens up things. Now, of course, one of my favorite movies, probably when I was about your guys' age, was Indiana Jones. And a lot of times what we think about is Indiana Jones, in the very first scene, he's in the cave and he's like trying to figure out what all this writing is. And that's a lot of times the way I look at it. The world gunks up all this beautiful stuff that God has written inside my heart. But if I ask him through the sacraments and through grace, and I ask him, he burns that junk away. The way that Indiana Jones used to wipe down the walls so that he could see it more and more clearly. And we can understand what he wants of us more and more as we get closer to him. And that's a beautiful thing. And then at the end, right here, it is so important when God says, "I will be their God, and they shall be my people, and they shall not teach each one his fellow citizens and kin, saying, 'Know the Lord,' for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest." And that right there just amplifies that we're all priests, that we all can have a connection with God. Now, we see in the New Testament that he does pick out some people for different jobs. And that's fine, but that doesn't make them any more special than all of us. We are all the children of God in his eyes, and we're all called to believe him as much as we can. And with this, we can trust in him evermore.